A federal judge in Florida voided a national mask mandate for airlines and other forms of public transportation on Monday. Now, multiple agencies in California are updating their masking rules. Let's take a look at who is dropping the masks and who is keeping them.
California transportation agencies are updating their masking requirements following a Florida court decision to void the national mask mandate for public transportation. For airports, the Los Angeles, San Jose, San Francisco, Oakland, and Sacramento International all said masks are encouraged but no longer enforced inside the buildings. A number of major airlines, including United, American, Alaska, Delta, and Southwest, are also allowing people to fly with masks optional. As for the train system, Amtrak is following suit, saying both passengers and employees are no longer required to wear masks while on board trains or in stations. Southern California's railway system, Metrolink, is also making masks optional, effective immediately. Similarly, Sacramento Regional Transit recommends masks, but no longer requires them. Meanwhile, Bay Area Rapid Transit, or BART, is allowing riders to go mask optional, while waiting for further federal guidance. But some public transit agencies are still asking riders to continue masking up on buses and trains, despite the Monday federal court ruling in Florida. The Los Angeles County Metropolitan Transportation Authority is still asking riders to continue masking on buses as the agency waits for further guidance from the federal government. San Francisco's Muni system, which runs buses, light rail, streetcars, and cable cars, said a mask order remains in effect until further notice. Likewise, masks are still required on Valley Transportation Agency, or VTA, and AC Transit buses and light rails. Many agencies say these are their current masking policies as they await further federal guidance.
A group of parents, teachers, and students are calling on the Southern California School District to end its staff COVID-19 vaccine mandate. Instead of uncredentialed people standing in for teachers, parents want unvaccinated teachers to return to school.
Bring back our teachers, bring back our students, bring back our staff.
Parents, teachers, and students gathered outside the Los Angeles Unified School District last Friday to ask their district to end the vaccine mandate. They want teachers in classrooms again to alleviate the worsening teacher shortage.
Our teachers are suffering without us in the classroom because they have been having very challenging days, being that they're short-staffed, they don't have the support from admin, some of them.
Los Angeles Educators and Parents United organized the rally. It's in response to LAUSD Superintendent Alberto Carvalho's recent plan to fill 400 vacant teaching positions by drawing from a pool of about 3,000 administrators and other district staff. The group's leaders believe the district is facing teacher shortages largely due to the vaccine mandate, which was enacted on November 15th. Since November, the LAUSD, the largest school district in California, has fired 800 staff members for not complying with the mandate. About 600 teachers were forced to move to teach remotely on the district's online learning program.
Also, what brought me out here is that I am standing up for my rights, for my family's rights, my own kids' rights, and I want to get back to work, to classroom. I want to be there for my children, I want to be there for my kids at work, and I want to be there because I love my job.
Cortez hasn't been back to the classroom since October 15th.
I don't agree that if you are going to get an education, you have to do this or do that. Otherwise, you're going to get kicked out.
The two groups already sent a letter to the district on April 8th requesting to meet with Carvalho. They want to talk about allowing unvaccinated credentialed teachers to return to campuses and removing student and staff COVID-19 vaccine mandates for the upcoming school year.
After 30 years, an unknown woman who was a victim of the Happy Face Killer has been identified. The murderer was sentenced to life in prison back in 1995.
The Santa Clara County Sheriff's Office announced Tuesday they have identified one of the victims of a notorious serial killer linked to at least 8 killings in the 1990s. Detectives used DNA and advanced investigative genetic genealogy techniques to identify Patricia Skipple, who was about 45 at the time.
After a lot of persistence and a partnership with the DNA Doe Project, we moved through potential matches and potential persons who would help lead us to identifying our victim.
I think that these new methods are proven to be solid and working and identifying individuals that were previously had gone unidentified for several years. I think the collaboration with the agency and organizations like our own are being able to bring closure to these families.
Skipple was a victim of Keith Hunter Jesperson, or the Happy Face Killer. Her body was discovered along the side of Highway 152 near Gilroy in June 1993. Jesperson is known as the Happy Face Killer because he signed anonymous letters he sent to media outlets and law enforcement agencies with a happy face symbol. Officials say he claims to have killed 8 women on the West Coast in the span of 5 years. He was sentenced to life in prison in 1995 and is currently in a state prison in Oregon.
I had the opportunity to last week go and meet with the family in person, and there's really nothing like being able to give closure to a family who has been waiting for several years to find out what has happened to their family member.
Skipple was a mother of 2 and a longtime resident of Colton, Oregon, where she worked as a nurse's aide and in local canneries. Skipple's niece, Martha Lavon Evans, has also been missing since February 1990. She was 32 at the time.
Tesla responded to a lawsuit against its factory in Northern California over alleged workplace racism. The company said the state's agency that filed the suit never even came to the factory to investigate claims. Tesla fired back at the state's Department of Fair Employment and Housing, or DFEH, over a recent lawsuit alleging racism in its factory. According to a Bloomberg report on Monday, Tesla said the department is out to make sensational headlines and has abandoned its founding purpose. The Monday filing submitted to a state court in Oakland requests a judge to put the department's February lawsuit on hold. The filing wrote DFEH conducted a bare-bones investigation without interviewing key witnesses, requesting key documents, or ever stepping foot in the Fremont facility. The department accused of Tesla of ignoring years of racial slurs on its assembly line floor in Fremont. According to a recent Bloomberg report, the DFEH is in some controversy after Governor Gavin Newsom fired one of his top lawyers. According to a new poll, more Californians feel not only that both state and federal taxes are too high, but also their financial prospects are worse for the future.
The UC Berkeley Institute for Government Studies, or IGS, released research data on Friday about Californians' feelings on finance. The poll found Californians feel taxes are too high and economic outlooks are low. 64% of registered voters said state and federal taxes are too high, with 26% saying the amount was about right. That's 10% more people who feel taxes are too high compared to 2016. 42% of voters say they are now worse off financially compared to 1 year ago. 37% said no change, and 21% said they're better off. Almost half of the responders said they expect no change in their economic future, while 30% expected things to get worse. IGS co-director G. Christina Mora said, "The findings indicate that many Californians are feeling pinched in today's economy. While the pandemic brought gains for a few, a much larger percentage of Californians have borne an economic burden during this time period." The poll came out just ahead of both tax day and lawmakers' return to Sacramento after a spring recess. Lawmakers have voted down certain tax decreases, such as legislation to halt the state's gas tax.
4 bear cubs spent half a year under the care of a wildlife specialist in San Diego. All cubs made a successful recovery and were recently released back into the wild. Let's meet the cubs.
After 6 months in captivity, 4 orphaned bear cubs have been released back into the wild. 3 of the bears were released back where they were first found, in Central California's Mariposa County. A fourth bear was released in Northern California's Plumas County, where it was rescued. The cub had burned paws when it approached firefighters during the Dixie Fire on August 31, 2021. The three sisters and the single male were all about 7 months old when they were taken to the San Diego Humane Society's Ramona Wildlife Center. The animal care team nursed all 4 bears back to health. San Diego Humane Society says they prepared the bears for a return to the wild by minimizing human contact and giving them access to trees and the opportunity to forage for their food while in captivity. On April 14th, biologists brought the 3 female bears in a trailer to a grassy area near some trees. Once the trailer was open, the bears jumped out, attempted to climb some nearby trees, then scampered away. Biologists with the California Department of Fish and Wildlife fitted all 4 cubs with radio collars so their movements can be tracked and monitored as they grow up.